Today I've got a really good trad on-site for you called Garbanzo Bean. Gets you warmed up with a nice 30 feet of hand crack climbing to a very hard to protect exposed traverse section up to around 50 or 60 feet of off-width climbing. It is a 5.7 plus on Tom's thumb. This one really did not feel like a 5.7 plus to me, even by McDowell standards, though I am still pretty new to off-width climbing, so. I think what likely makes this a 5.7 plus and not harder is that there are occasionally cheater holds on the face and inside the crack that you can kind of use to avoid fully committing to the off-width technique. I will say pictures of this route make it look a lot less imposing. For instance, here's a picture from Mountain Project. It just doesn't look very tall, but this thing is very tall and a little spooky, intimidating when you get there in person, because it's all trad, there's no bolts. A lot of times in the McDowells, you'll come across bolts on most routes, but this is full trad for the full like 120 plus feet of climbing, so definitely be comfortable leading trad before you hop on this. It eases up here, so I'm just going to fast forward through some of this to get to the traverse. As we're kind of working our way up to the traverse, I'll talk about that a little bit. I didn't really know what to expect here. So the guidebook says, follow that crack up the ramps on cruiser's route, but then move left at obvious bird poop to a wide crack. Kind of glosses over the traverse.
And then
the Marty map says, up crack to fixed piton, step left on face, traverse left to wide vertical crack to top. Also kind of glosses over the traverse. Point being, I could see somebody reading those descriptions and thinking that maybe the traverse is pretty chill, but at least to me, maybe I'm just a soft modern climber. The traverse was spooky, exposed, and hard to protect, so just know that going in. So at this point, I was getting a little nervous about not having enough gear to lead the rest of the route. So I built a gear anchor here and brought up my second. I think the scariest part about leading this section is how far away from the belayer and your last piece of protection you get. And also, you're not really able to see any of the handholds until you get up into it and you're basically fully committed. I do think it might be possible to protect that thin horizontal seam with some micro gear. In hindsight, I think I would have made an attempt to protect it, but in the moment I felt more comfortable just going for the big left foot and trying to get into the hand crack as fast as possible. Alright, we are getting into the long section of off-width. I did find one of the more challenging parts was just getting established here at the start. The hands weren't like perfect hand jams, and then it was kind of a high left foot. Here's one of those cheater holds I was telling you about. The nice thing is you can pull on these pretty good as face holds, and then once you get up above them, you can use them as footholds as well. You can just hang out as long as you want and rest. Alright, so we're entering a pretty wide section of the climb. I brought 2 number 4s and a number 5, and you'll see that I juggle them a ways up. I always make sure I have at least one really good placed piece, and then I can pull the lower one out and move it up. And eventually I do end up leaving a number 4 just to have a piece in, and then I bring up the second number 4 and the number 5 and just keep juggling those up as well. So here I'm getting the 5 in, and then I'm going to bump the 4 up to be right under the 5 so that I can reach it, and then move it above the 5. Pretty sure this is where I end up leaving the first number 4. So I clip the 4 back in above, and then I do the same with the 5. I pull the 5 out and bump it up, and then I just always make sure I have at least one good piece in, and that the runouts between pieces never get longer than, 10, 15 feet. Another cheater hold here. This is where I leave the second number 4. This is because looking up, I can kind of see that the 5 will get me the rest of the way up without too much risk or danger. I would say this climb is a must-do for anybody looking to push their mental comfortability and just kind of get out of their comfort zone a little bit. It kind of forces you into some of that off-width technique, and I love that it goes entirely on gear. This is like my favorite kind of climb, just a super long climb purely on gear. It really makes you earn it, and that's what I love about this climb. Here's Joel on the traverse.
Nice job, dude.